On the first day of early voting in Georgia, these phones keep ringing.
Voter protection is Javon. How may I help you?
Today, for the first time, we've had some elevated anxiety about, can you check and make sure I'm registered?
Kiki Wilson is a self-described blue blood Democrat, but she says her work for the last 6 weeks as a volunteer at the Georgia Democratic Party's voter protection hotline has not been partisan.
We just want people who want to vote to vote. I think people really have decided, I'm going to vote. I'm not going to let the system get me down.
But there is skepticism about the integrity of the voting system in Georgia.
The miasma of fear that is created through voter suppression is as much about terrifying people about trying to vote as it is about actually blocking their ability to do so.
Tensions are red hot in the race for Georgia's top job. Stacey Abrams, the Democratic candidate, is accusing her opponent, Republican Brian Kemp, of voter suppression.
That's a smokescreen trying to hide her radical views.
As Georgia's Secretary of State, Kemp is in charge of voter registration for statewide elections, including his own. Abrams is calling for him to resign that position, and he's being sued by a coalition of civil rights groups. According to the lawsuit filed Thursday, more than 50,000 voter registration applications are on hold. The problem? They didn't meet the standard of a voter verification law known as exact match. The error could be as simple as a missing hyphen or a typo. And because of problems in the database, sometimes the applicant isn't even at fault. Some 80% of the people in limbo are minorities, civil rights groups say. Emory University professor of political science Andrew Gillespie explains why.
This could potentially affect people who have more culturally unusual names in the United States, people who have unusual spellings of names. These people tend to disproportionately be people of color.
Kemp says Abrams' claims are a manufactured crisis to turn out her base, and he assures all voters their votes will count.
Those folks that are on the pending list, all they have to do is go to the polls, show their photo ID, and they can vote.
Kemp addressing and batting down the accusations head on. But when Georgia Senator David Perdue was asked about the controversy while campaigning for Kemp over the weekend, things got touchy, so to speak.
Hey, so how can you endorse a candidate who's going to... I'm not doing it. You stole my property. You stole my property.
All right, you wanted a picture?
Give me my phone back.
You wanted a picture? I'm going to
give me my phone back, Senator. Thanks. Give me my phone. That's U.S. Senator David Perdue. U.S. Senator David Perdue just snatched my phone.
Perdue's office says he thought he was being asked to take a selfie. Since the news broke that thousands of voters could be challenged when they go to cast their vote, the Voter Protection Hotline has received more than 2,000 calls. The volunteers continue to problem solve.
I have grandsons calling for their grandmothers. I have parents calling for their parents. So everybody seems to be helping each other out. But I think people are waking up to the fact that if they don't vote, they really can't say anything about the result.
Even if you're on the pending list, Professor Gillespie says go vote.
What I would encourage people to do is to take Secretary Kemp at his word in this case. So if somebody knows that they're on the pending list, they can take their voter ID and try to correct the situation on the spot. If they encounter problems there.
Not everyone on the pending list is aware. Check the state's database to ensure your voter registration status or call the Voter Protection Hotline. And if you have trouble at the polls, a provisional ballot will allow you to cast a ballot in person, even if all the requirements for doing so cannot be met at the time. Then you'll have more time to sort it out. Kaylee Hartung, CNN, Atlanta.